Yes, please. There will be always a microphone somewhere around, so always wait for the microphone. And if you can introduce yourself, just say who you are and where you are from.
High School of Economics, Moscow. I have two comments. One is very small on the 16 number of the slide. You gave us specification. I suppose you meant that you took square of logarithm of employee compensation, so the brace should be moved to the left and take logarithm of employee compensation squares. Otherwise, it can be simplified. And on the 7th, I would like to make some comments. 17, yes. No. Okay, let's go back.
Which way? 16, right side?
Yes, 16.
16?
16, yes. That when you're working with panel data, one has to make many precautions. You're saying that total fertility rate is not actually stationary, or it's either falling for some countries or raising. And at the same time, I'm pretty sure that employee compensation is also has some development for countries. In such a case, we could at least test that both time series for each country have unit roots. And if it is so, then this regression is spurious, because both exploratory and dependent variables are unit root variables. And what else? Yes, many is this. Thank you.
Yeah. So two comments regarding this idea of the time series being potentially co-integrated and us potentially estimating a spurious relationship based on that. First of all, I don't think it makes sense to think TFR time series as something that would have a unit root. That because it can be tested, but the AR coefficient will come with a number that's well below 1 with TFR. And then the time fixed effect that we include in the regressions, that effectively removes a shared time trend. So even if that was the case, the time fixed effect removes the unit root problem that otherwise would be present in a situation that you accurately describe as sort of two time series being co-integrated.
Next question, please.
I'm Rita Sankhya, YASA postdoc scholar. So far, the message was like development is the best contraceptive, especially in case of poor countries. So, but you are showing something which is different and also appears to be very convincing. But my question is that, is it because you are examining your hypothesis in a very low fertility context? Or you will expect that after certain time, say, instead of going for high fertility, this relationship will be constant to kind of some ideal fertility, say about 2 or 3 fertility, like TFR, what is found that this is the ideal fertility.
So I believe your question partially relates to this graph where there is sort of here development is a great contraceptive and here it's not. And the way development plays out in women's or couples' lives is of course very different at this level of development versus this level of development. So nothing in what I'm saying challenges the view that at much of the spectrum of development that we see across the world, during much of that spectrum it still holds that development is associated with decreasing fertility. Now, what we observe here is very often relatively low levels of fertility, and what we are also observing is local sort of treatment effects. So we see that when fertility, in the countries where fertility is low, advances in income at the regional level, also at the national level, are boosting fertility to a higher level. But this is happening within a regime of very low fertility. So I don't believe that there's the need to think what would be an optimal level of fertility, but I don't think anyone would think that these assations that we are observing would be without any limit, so that if further development advances, we would soon see some of these countries with TFR3. That is not what these assations should be interpreted to mean. These are local level treatment effects.
Anyone last question? Yes.
Yeah, I have two quick conceptual questions. I was wondering if you, so it seems to pertain to, of course, the total fertility rate is the dependent variable. What are you thinking about fertility intentions? Would you believe to find the same pattern if you measure fertility intentions? So is development just related to what people do, or is development related to what people want to do? I was wondering because what is happening at the same time when fertility declines is that societies change in their age structure and in their social structure. And the developmental arguments on one side, but perhaps people's intentions are being shaped by the society they see around themselves. How many children are there? Do I need to produce children if there are lots already in the society, if I'm better off? That's very different from when fertility is very low and I don't see children and then I have more money, maybe I want to contribute. So I've been wondering if you are measuring also the steepness of the decline of the fertility decline before this change occurs. If it's very quick, perhaps there are still enough children and my increased development doesn't matter, but if it's been slow and steady, maybe that matters.
Difficult questions. The first one was basically whether we think that the effect that changing from negative to positive is through changing desired family size or changing realized fertility, and I believe that the gap between desired family size and realized fertility continues to be in many of these contexts so large that one doesn't necessarily need to assume anything regarding changes in desired family size. Rather, one might interpret this as the gap perhaps getting slightly narrower. But this is speculation. I will not be able to test that today. The other question, again, to what extent the steepness of the past decline predicts the reversal. I think that's a great question, which, however, I believe one shouldn't try to address by looking at fertility rates. There would be just too much noise in them, and I think at the local level one might be able to look at rather age structures of the populations and the density of young children within populations, and through that one might be able to get at the question that you are asking.
So, thank you very much, Mikko. With this, I would like to close the first keynote.